The concept of bid'ah, also spelled bid'ah or bid'at, is one of the most critical and debated concepts in Islam. It carries a strongly negative connotation and is often translated as innovation or heresy. Here is a detailed breakdown of its meaning, types, and implications. 1. Core definition and linguistic meaning. Linguistically, the word bid'ah comes from the root bda, which means to originate something new without any prior example. Technically, in Islamic terminology, it refers to introducing a new belief, practice, or ritual into the religion of Islam that has no basis in the primary sources, the Quran and the authentic Sunnah, traditions, of Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, and was not practiced by the early Muslim community, the Salaf. The key principle used to define bid'ah is the famous hadith: whoever introduces anything into this matter of ours that is not part of it will have it rejected. Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, and in another narration, every innovation is misguidance, and every misguidance is in the hellfire. Sunan and Nasa'i. 2. The key differentiator: what makes something a bid'ah? The crucial distinction lies in the domain of the innovation. Bid'ah is specifically about religious innovations, ibadat, not worldly innovations, muamalat. Examples of permissible worldly innovations: using a microphone for the adhan, driving a car to the mosque, writing books on Islamic theology, using the internet for da'wah, etc. These are all new means to fulfill an existing religious objective and are generally permissible as long as they don't contradict Islamic law. Examples of religious bid'ah: inventing a new prayer not taught by the Prophet, introducing a new mandatory fast, creating a new religious festival, like the Prophet's birthday as an act of worship, or adding a fixed, specific dhikr to the prayer that the Prophet never did. The general rule is, in matters of worship, everything is prohibited unless there is evidence from the Quran or Sunnah permitting it. In worldly matters, everything is permissible unless there is evidence prohibiting it. 3. Categories of bid'ah. Scholars have classified bid'ah in different ways, but the most common and important classifications are: A. Classification by pervasiveness. Bid'ah haqiqiyah, literal innovation, an innovation that has no basis whatsoever in the Sharia, e.g., praying to saints. Bid'ah idafiyah, relative innovation, an innovation that has some basis in the Sharia but is performed in a way that contradicts the correct method. Example: performing the night prayer, tahajjud, in congregation as a constant practice, which the Prophet did not do. B. Classification by legal ruling, the most common view majority scholars. Most classical scholars, like Imam al-Shafi'i and Imam an-Nawawi, categorized bid'ah based on its compliance with the principles of Sharia. This classification is more nuanced. Bid'ah sayyah, reprehensible innovation, this is the bid'ah that is sinful and leads one astray. It is the type referred to in the condemning hadiths. This is the default and most common understanding of the term. Bid'ah hasanah, good innovation, this is a controversial category. Proponents argue that it refers to a worldly means to a good religious end that was introduced later and complies with Islamic principles. Examples they give include: compiling the Quran into one book, Mushaf, under Abu Bakr, Ra. Establishing the Tarawih prayer in congregation under Umar, Ra, who called it a good innovation, building madrasas, Islamic schools, and using modern printing for Quran. Important note: scholars who reject this classification, like the Salafi school, argue that Umar, Ra, used the word innovation in its linguistic sense, not its religious sense, as the Tarawih prayer itself was established by the Prophet. 4. Examples of bid'ah, from the perspective of mainstream Sunni orthodoxy. To make it clear, here are actions widely considered bid'ah by the majority of scholars: celebrating Mawlid, the Prophet's birthday, as an act of religious worship with specific prayers and rituals. Performing specific prayers on the 15th of Shaban, Laylat al-Bara, with the belief that they have a special, prescribed reward not mentioned in authentic hadith. Adding a specific, repeated dhikr loudly after the obligatory prayer in congregation that the Prophet never practiced. Building elaborate shrines over graves and turning them into places of worship, seeking blessings from the deceased. Making dua in unison after the congregational prayer, led by the Imam. Why is bid'ah so strongly condemned? The severe warning against bid'ah stems from several core Islamic beliefs. Completeness of the religion. The Quran states, "This day I have perfected for you your religion and completed my favor upon you and have approved for you Islam as religion." Quran 5:3. Introducing new acts of worship implies that the religion was incomplete. Protecting the Sunnah. It is a way to protect the pure teachings of the Prophet, PBUH, from alteration and foreign influence. To invent a new act of worship is to claim a right that belongs only to God. Creating division. Innovations often lead to sects and divisions within the Muslim community, as different groups adopt different practices. In essence, bid'ah is seen as a dangerous door that, if opened, could lead to the distortion of Islam over time. The constant emphasis is to adhere strictly to the authenticated practices of the Prophet and his companions.